You just filled your gas tank. The news said, ceasefire. You exhaled. You thought it was over. It isn't over. I spent days tracking this after realizing the headlines were telling a very different story from what the actual agreement says. And the 60-day clock that nobody in mainstream media is talking about just started. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what this ceasefire actually means for your family's gas, food, and financial stability, and the specific steps you need to take in the next 30 days before that clock runs out. Because if you stand down your preparation because the news told you to relax, you will not be ready when round 2 begins, and round 2 is already scheduled. Here's what the headlines are saying. U.S. and Iran reached a ceasefire. Tensions cooling. Crisis averted. Go back to your normal life, America. Here's what the headlines are not saying. This ceasefire lasts 60 days. That's it. 60 days, not a peace treaty, not a permanent agreement, a temporary suspension of hostilities with no guarantee of what happens on day 61. And the last time the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway that controls 20% of the entire world's oil supply, got seriously threatened during this conflict, oil prices surged past $100 per barrel, and analysts estimated the global GDP impact at roughly $2.2 trillion annually. Your gas prices didn't just spike because of supply and demand. They spiked because the entire global economy runs through a waterway that's 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, and that waterway is still there, still vulnerable. And the ceasefire doesn't move it. Most people get this completely wrong and treat a ceasefire like a resolution. It isn't. A ceasefire is two sides agreeing to stop shooting at each other temporarily, usually because both sides need to regroup, rearm, or negotiate from a position of strength. History is full of ceasefires that lasted exactly as long as they were convenient. And here's what nobody tells you about the current situation: the underlying tensions that caused this conflict. Iranian nuclear ambitions, U.S. military presence in the region, proxy conflicts across the Middle East. None of that changed in 60 days. So what does day 61 look like if negotiations fail? It looks like the Strait of Hormuz getting threatened again. It looks like oil markets panicking again. It looks like gas prices at your local Shell station jumping 40 cents overnight. Again. And this time, if you didn't use the ceasefire window to prepare, you'll be scrambling just like you were before. This is where it gets deadly for everyday American families. It's not the missiles and the military hardware that hits your household. It's the cascade. Oil prices spike. Trucking costs spike. Every product that gets delivered by truck gets more expensive. Your grocery bill at Walmart jumps. Your heating bill jumps. Your credit card balance climbs while your paycheck stays the same. Remember the COVID supply chain collapse in 2020? That happened with no military conflict at all, just a virus disrupting shipping patterns. Now, picture that same supply chain stress layered on top of an oil price shock from a Strait of Hormuz closure. That's not a hypothetical. That's the documented economic scenario that energy analysts have been wargaming for years, and most American families have zero buffer to absorb it. So here's what you actually do with this 60-day window. First, fuel storage. A 5-gallon NATO-style fuel can from Amazon or Home Depot runs about $25, treated with PRI-G fuel stabilizer, about $10 on Amazon. Stored gasoline stays viable for up to 12 months. 2 cans gives your family 10 gallons of emergency fuel. That's enough to evacuate your area or run a generator for several days. Fill them now while prices are relatively stable. Don't wait for day 61. Second, food buffer. The thing survival channels never mention about economic conflict impact is that it hits grocery stores in waves, not all at once. The first wave is cooking oil, because most American cooking oil comes from supply chains that run through conflict-sensitive regions. After that comes canned goods, then meat, then dairy. A 30-day food buffer, rice, beans, canned protein, cooking oil, bought right now at current prices, is insurance against the price spikes that follow an oil shock. A 20-pound bag of rice at Walmart is $12. A case of canned chicken is $25 on Amazon. You can build a solid 2-week buffer for one person for about $60. Do it this week. This is the part that almost nobody in the survival community is talking about right now. And here's the part that will surprise you. The financial preparation matters as much as the physical prep. If oil prices spike again, and your gas bill doubles, and your grocery bill jumps 20% simultaneously, do you have 1 month of expenses in cash or liquid savings as a buffer. Most American families don't. The Federal Reserve has repeatedly reported that most Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency expense without going into debt. A $400 emergency. An oil shock doesn't cost $400. It costs thousands, spread across months of elevated prices at every store you walk into. Start building that cash buffer now. Even $50 a week set aside during this 60-day ceasefire window adds up to $600 in emergency liquid reserves before the clock runs out. That's not a fortune, but it's the difference between absorbing the next shock and drowning in it. Everything I just told you, that's only half the story. The part most survival channels never cover. That's coming next, and trust me, you need to hear it. But today, this week, do one thing. Go buy one Natto fuel can and one bottle of PRI-G stabilizer. Fill it, store it somewhere cool and dark. That single action costs you about $35 and gives your family emergency fuel independence the next time the Middle East makes your gas pump political. So tell me, when prices spiked during the Iran conflict, were you prepared or were you caught off guard at the pump? Drop your honest answer in the comments below.